humans, and welcome to a new episode of Psicoactivo. It's been a week, so as many of you may know, I think that we did something pretty unique last Friday when Gonzalo Chavez, shout out Gonzalo, when we invited biologist Jose de la Cruz Rios and Dr. Jose Salce Benitez, who are the two Mexican scientists who have been investigating the case of the mummies since 2016, we found out. So the way the structure was, because at first I felt that it was a pretty daunting task because I had never done any interviews, much less in real time, much less of multiple people. And Gonzalo was really gracious with me. He was always very attentive. We managed to get Miss Cosmic Rabbit on Twitter to help us with the translation. She got equally nervous as I was at a certain moment, but it went well. Generally speaking, it went well. I don't know if I will do it again, to be honest with you, because it's much less debate. Because recently, Gonzalo opened up the possibility to have one of the American PhDs and the biologist, Jose de la Cruz Rios, on a debate. And this is where my topic of today's video comes and becomes more important, because there seems to be like a division between a part of the scientific community and another part of the scientific community and a part of the researching community, because they can't really reach a middle point between them. And more importantly, there seems to be a level of I don't know how to say it, a level of ego and the scientific community within the United States. That is a major problem, because one of the main reasons these bodies haven't been properly investigated or hadn't been properly investigated is because of a lot of disinformation, misinformation about the mummies, about bodies that were fake and are fake. And these two doctors confirmed during that interview that there were fake bodies that they don't know where they came from. And the bodies that they're studying from University of Ica, those are the ones that nobody has even asked to come close to. And this is where the problem lies. Because people who are not on the same lane in science tend to treat others with a level of disdain, and they don't give them the platform, or they don't listen to them at all, because they're not on their same level. They're not their type of PhD. They're not on the same category as they are in terms of what they study, their fields. And I think that's a major problem, because all of us want to get to the truth. All of us, for example, I'm a journalist. I know I'm a layman in science, scientifically speaking, but I am very interested in this case. I consider that I have seen enough evidence for the bodies to be studied and to push for the bodies to be studied. And Professor Stephen Brown is also on this same boat. He's a PhD though, on philosophy, but he's not a practicing scientist. He's a professor. And he was very clear when he talked about that with me and also with Matt Ford on the Good Trouble Show. And I think that there are some scientists who don't even want to listen to what us laymen have to say about the case, despite the thorough investigation that many of us have been conducting over these years. And as I was trying to find the best way to say this, it was very funny that a synchronicity happened. A podcast dropped yesterday of Terrence Howard and Eric Weinstein. You know who Eric Weinstein is? He's the mathematician who is really good friends with Joe. He's a PhD in mathematics and physics. And he showed the class and the graciousness that any scientist should show to people who are very passionate about a topic, although they may be wrong about stuff. The fact that they're after the truth as much as anybody who is honest in their approach doesn't give these scientists the right to dismiss their claims or dismiss whatever they say. They have to approach this with compassion and with a willingness to educate, but from a humble point of view, because and that's difficult within the scientific community, especially amongst PhDs, because it comes with the territory. It happens all the time. PhDs get to a certain level of intelligence that sometimes the ego betrays them, and they behave in a certain way that is disrespectful to other people. And they need to understand that they're doing that, you know? And they need to understand that it doesn't matter how many degrees you have. It doesn't matter if you're a PhD on whatever. If you're not polite and if you don't treat people well, you're not going to really get anywhere. Because the whole point of this discussion is to have a discourse, to exchange ideas, to not attack each other, to not go into ad hominems or any other type of insult, to not go like, no, that's bullshit, or, you know, that level of reaction that always warrants another reaction that may be even more aggressive, that will take us nowhere. And that's exactly what's been happening with this case of the mummies. So I want to show you this clip that educates many of these PhDs and people who are really smart and think they're smarter than the rest of us, from Mr. Eric Weinstein himself. He said it brilliantly. So I'm going to play this clip right now.
But anyway, so Terrence was there, wigged out, and he was saying this thing.
Wigged out, literally.
Literally wigged out. And he was saying this thing. He said, look, all I care about is the truth. And that freed me up to come on, right? Because the spectrum of Terrence, from the best to the worst, is a broad spectrum. And he seriously wants to improve what he's doing. He cares about it. And if I can play a part in that, I think
I want to offer to you, I want to be able to show you the things that I tried to show Neil deGrasse Tyson that he would not even really take a look at and to see.
But no, he did take a look at it, right? He responded in a long video recently.
Yeah, but his response was disingenuous.
Guys, may I make a recommendation? Let's start with the ideas, because I think we all care about those.
Yes, for sure. But hold, please, because this is an important thing that just came out.
He was so disingenuous because I sent him a long email after he sent me back the red line thing, thanking him for reviewing it and saying, look forward to when we can discuss these things, because I sent the treatise to him so we could discuss that on the show. His whole point was, I'm going to bring you on my show and we're going to talk. So here's the stuff that we're going to talk about that I would like to talk about. He never followed up from that point forward, just sent one-line emails. Any other thing you got to go to somebody else. So he's pretended like, oh, I was trying to be, very helpful, but that's not what the email trails show.
So he did make this one very large response, though. Right? He did. He did go over the treatise, all the red line stuff. He only has so much time. He might be in a position to defend him, that he might be in a position where he's like, look, I just said what I said about all this stuff. Good luck. I don't have the time to like sit here and discuss these things in depth.
And
Maybe
that's great.
possible. Maybe
That's great. But it's like you invited me to come and do your show. I put this stuff together to come and talk to you on your show, and then there's no follow up with the show.
got it.
So where's the beer?
I understand it. I mean, I understand your perspective for sure.
It's like, come on, man. If
Yeah,
you're
he
gonna
might have
do
got
it,
to
do
a
it.
point where it's like a thing where he thinks it's ridiculous and he doesn't want to engage it on
And
his show.
ridiculous. Amen. And I
Yeah.
believe that, but if you got 97, 98 patents and 4 supersymmetrical systems that you're claiming you have, and all you need is someone to
I'm gonna
review
have to jump
them,
in, and I don't want to do it this
that'd
way.
be great.
Listen, we're just having a conversation.
This isn't about Tyson.
What's the
this
problem?
is a colleague of mine.
Yeah, this isn't about
And
Tyson, and I love him. I love him. I grew up watching him, and I appreciated him.
But what is the problem? We're defending him. I certainly am.
Because Neil's a complicated guy, and part of what's going on is that there's a problem in general, which we scientists do not behave honestly with respect to certain things. We'll make these claims about science is about communication and challenging ideas and all these things, and everybody can be a scientist, and all these sorts of things that we say. Science is interesting. Science is fun. Well, very often it's not interesting. Very often it's not fun. Very often you can't really say that everybody can do science because it's super demanding. We don't welcome people. You're a mathematician too. We'll say that to kids, and then the kid will say something, and then we'll say, "Be quiet."
Yeah.
And so, this is not peculiar to Neil. It's like science in general has portrayed itself as a place where everyone's welcome. We debate out the ideas. We have the scientific method to tell us what's true and what isn't. And that's disingenuous. It's not really how the game works. And this is going to involve peer review. It's going to involve people who are dual in terms of both doing research and being public figures. People who are public figures who we think of as researchers who aren't really doing much research. People who are, pushing crazy agendas in public without a recognition that their colleagues don't think much of what they're doing. I mean, this is a very complicated story that Terrence has walked into. And I have to think about my colleagues, and I have to think about how they hear things, what they will say. And so I am in part speaking to your audience, but I'm also partially speaking to 1,000 people who are seeing this at a different level.
So yeah, this is the example he used because he is a friend with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Personally, I consider that Neil deGrasse Tyson was not disrespectful in the way he explained why he rejected the proposition from Terrence Howard. But Terrence did take offense to that because Neil deGrasse Tyson ignored him. And that also hurts people sometimes. Especially if you're someone that is so passionate about something and you have dedicated so much time to it. It's frustrating. And I think that the best way to approach this case of the mummies is to take that approach, to be gracious in your approach, even and compassionate, even if you have evidence or proof that the other person is not correct. I think Mr. Weinstein is teaching us a lesson here, and I think we should learn it and heed it, because this case of the mummies or the bodies is not going to go away, guys. Although Professor Brown he's very adamant that the llama skull paper does prove that the skulls of these bodies are from a llama. That doesn't mean that he's going to walk away from the case. That doesn't mean that he's not going to keep paying attention and trying to get to the truth. It just means that we're crossing out all of the data that proves either correct or incorrect. That's all. And I think that another aspect of this, and another reason that many of these scientists react in such manner with such vitriol sometimes, is because there are people, especially in this case of the Nazca mummies or the Nazca bodies, where they're not very well versed scientifically, or they don't have the proper credentials to talk about the case thoroughly, and yet they jumped the gun. Many of the people involved in this case I'm not going to name any names, but you can probably find out or take a wild guess of who I'm talking about, jump the gun and say these are alien, or these are from a non-human civilization, or these are from the moon, or, you know, any hypothesis that you can think of. Because there's people who are already sold on these being from another planet. And I think that's irresponsible. Especially with a case that has had so much obfuscation over the years. And it's done no good to the topic at all. I think that these people need to learn that this is a process. The scientific method takes a long time. And you can't just speak out of school or just jump the gun and say, these are from Zeta Reticuli. You can't do that. We don't have enough data yet. We're working on it. Yes, there are currently 4 labs, one in Canada, 2 in the US, and another one in the UK that are studying samples as we speak, and they're going to come up with papers and with more scientific data so we can come up with the best response or the best answer to what these are. And while we do that, I get the scientists who are sick and tired of so much speculation on these bodies without the full data, without the results of all these tests that are being conducted right now. I get it. But you also need to be compassionate. You can't be like angry at someone that wants to jump the gun because they believe something by insulting this person. That's not okay. You need to be understanding of what they want to believe in or what they're trying to believe in, and you need to approach them again with compassion and tell them this is wrong and this is why this is wrong. This is the evidence that we have to prove that this is wrong, and that's the only way that we can keep moving forward with the case. If we keep bickering, if we keep going like the Lama Skull paper is bunk, the whole case is bunk, therefore, no, that's not how we do it. That's not how research works. That's not how science works. You need to look at the data, wait for the test results to come out, and then continue with the research until you get to a conclusion. I know people are desperate to get results, to get the truth. I get it, guys. We've been at this for almost 80 years. Trust me, I understand. But if you guys want for this topic to be taken seriously, and especially to be taken seriously by the majority of people in the world, we can't keep having these yelling contests. We can't keep being disrespectful to each other, because anybody who's not on the topic, anybody who is not even like on the vicinity of it and comes across something and sees 2 people attacking each other, what do you think they're gonna say? Like, are they gonna go, oh, this seems interesting, they're fighting each other and they're calling each other names, I want more of that? No. They're obviously gonna go, okay, these people are fighting, clearly these people are deranged or crazy, and they're just gonna move away, and the stigma is going to continue. So I want you guys to please re-listen to what Mr. Eric Weinstein said here, and understand the level of humility that this guy had to take in order to speak to Terrence about his hypothesis. And I think this is the best way you can do it. I want to commend Mr. Eric Weinstein for being so open and so polite, although he believes that Mr. Terrence Howard is off in many of the things he's claiming. And I want people from the scientific community and the researching community of the Nazca Mummies to follow this example, because this is the way. So I want to thank you, everybody who's been leaving messages and comments and likes and shared and all over the place. You guys have been great. I really haven't read like really any negative comments. They've all been really nice, really welcoming, encouraging. I am currently full transparency. I am currently going through a difficult time in my career because I am transitioning from sports journalism to this, and there are some weeks that are harder than others. This is one of them. I am not going through a great moment, but I know that the work needs to be done, and I still have to keep smiling, and I still have to keep my mind on the glass half full, because these moments that have been happening this year that made me take a step back and rethink what I'm doing are the exact same moments that make me or force me to look for new alternatives or new ways to present what I'm doing. And I was speaking to someone yesterday, and I realized that many of the people that are doing this from an honest standpoint and with passion are going through something similar. They don't know exactly why they're doing this, but they just know they have to be doing this, you know? And that's exactly how I feel. And I think that the more content I keep putting out, the quicker more people are going to find out of what I'm trying to do. And despite the situation that I'm in right now, that doesn't mean that I don't want to keep doing something that I truly love and gets me really passionate, and something that I think that could make a difference in the world. And that's the main reason I'm doing it, because I think that it's important information to get across to people, and the best way that we can relay it, that's the way to go about it. And I think that we've managed to make a great community. I don't know why, but I've been so lucky to have found people like Christian Harloff or Patrick at Vetted, or James Yandoli has been really nice to me. And there's so much people that have been so welcoming and so nice, and they tell me that more of the stuff that we're doing is needed in this topic, and I agree. And I think the more eyes we get on this, the faster it's going to go mainstream, and the faster people are going to realize that there is something to this, and that we need to keep investigating and to keep pushing. So I would really appreciate it if you could help push the channel, like, share, comment, subscribe. I left a couple of links with Buy Me a Coffee and PayPal, while I set up another mean that is not as in your face, you know, because I don't feel that comfortable just simply asking for donations. But right now, due to the situation I'm in, that is currently the only option that I have. But things are going to look up, and are already starting to look up. I am going to drop a few bombs and a few news on the channel over the next few days, so you guys be aware of that. And keep in mind, always treat people with respect. Even if you're way smarter than them, or you think you are, you have no right to treat anybody with disrespect. That's not how I was raised by my mother. She always taught me that it doesn't matter how the level of education someone has. If they're not polite or empathetic, they're not really that smart. That's what I learned over the years. So be empathetic, be polite, be nice. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Until tomorrow. Bye.